Hey there, I'm Scott Telek, author of the Swithen series of King Arthur novels, which is the only book series that remains completely faithful to the actual legend of King Arthur, but makes it readable and relatable for us in the present day. Now, you might be wondering, how do we still know about King Arthur today? That is, how did this legend endure for almost 2,000 years? And I'm going to tell you. So as we've discussed, there probably was a real person back in the 500s who all these legends started to grow up around, which is what makes this a real legend. And these were stories that were remembered in the mind and told orally by storytellers from the years 550 up to the 1100s. And we can only imagine how the story grew and changed as one storyteller would remember this but forget that, or add this character or forget this other character, and over 500 years it would keep rolling and changing and becoming something new and different. So all of this hails from a time before writing was much of a thing, and so none of it was written down until 1136 when this guy Geoffrey of Monmouth wrote The History of the Kings of Britain. This has the earliest version of the Arthurian legend as we know it today, and is this also the book where Shakespeare got the inspiration for King Lear? So that's how old this is, 500 years before Shakespeare. So from that point on, other writers began to write their own versions of the story, kind of like the fan fiction of the day, and they would add their own characters and make their own stories taking place in that world. And one of the best known is by this guy, Quechin de Troyes, spelled like this. And he actually invented the character of Lancelot, and he invented that Lancelot and Guinevere were having this long-standing affair. So he completely changed the direction of the story from that point on. And then at a certain point, the church took a look at this, which was incredibly violent, but also incredibly popular, sort of like the comic books of the day. And they tried to Christianize the story, and they added on the quest for the Holy Grail. But still, it was all out there in these different, sometimes really wildly contradictory versions. So then around 1485, this guy Thomas Malory was in prison for doing a bunch of awful things, and what he did, presumably to while away the time, is that he combined all these different versions into one version and arranged them all into one loose, emphasis on loose, overarching story. And this version was the relatively short, relatively readable Morte D'Arthur. Okay, so now get this. Malory's book, Morte D'Arthur, happened to be released just after the invention of the printing press, which was also crucial to its popularity. And because it was suddenly accessible, suddenly readable, and short, it became well known and very popular, and that is the reason that this legend, which originated almost 2,000 years ago, is still with us today. Okay, so in the next video we're going to discuss this legend. What is it actually about? Sword and sorcery, honor, white men on quests? Well, yes and no. It's about that, but it's also about a whole lot more, which we'll discuss in the next video.